Republican Party as a whole has a huge demographic problem. In the 2012 election, the only demographic that the party was able to secure by huge margins in the general election was older, white, male voters. African Americans, women, Hispanics, and voters under the age of 30 all flocked to the Democratic Party. Now, a few weeks ago, Politico published a story explaining that the base of the Republican Party is literally dying off in droves. This is something that analysts had been predicting for a very long time, as everyone except the Republicans could clearly see that you can't sustain a party if most of your voters are in their golden years. And now those predictions are becoming a reality, and the Republican Party is panicking. So the big question here is, what are they going to do? Luckily, the GOP has an absolutely hilarious answer to that question. According to The Hill, Republicans honestly believe that they will be able to win back African American voters once President Obama leaves office. What the party fails to realize is that it wasn't just President Obama that won the majority of black voters. John Kerry won by large margins, as did Al Gore, Bill Clinton, Michael Dukakis, Walter Mondale, and so on. And in fact, not since Gerald Ford ran in 1976 have the Republicans actually won more than 15% of the African American vote. The problem isn't that they like seeing an African American in the White House. The problem is that the GOP has a reputation for being against any kind of racial equality in the United States. For example, the party has been gerrymandering African Americans out of existence in states all over the country, particularly in the South, helping their votes to be watered down by a flurry of Republican voters in the same district. And that's if African Americans are even allowed to get to the polls to vote. The Republicans have been actively working to institute voter ID laws in swing states, which studies show will disproportionately disenfranchise black voters. On top of that, Republican governors in states like Florida and Ohio have purged eligible minority voters off their voting rolls illegally, making it even harder for African Americans to even cast a ballot. Then you have the issue of racial profiling, racist drug laws, and a Republican-controlled news outlet in Fox News that praises violent police officers when they murder unarmed black citizens. But this isn't exactly news to Republican Party leadership either. They've known about these problems for years. In fact, immediately following the 2012 elections, they conducted a study to find out why they can't win over minority voters, and the answer was absolutely obvious. The overall perception of the Republican Party, particularly among minority voters, is that they simply don't care about people. And that's the absolute truth about the Republican Party. Armed with this knowledge, it would have made sense for the party to adopt a new platform that would attract a wide assortment of voters. Instead, they decided to double down on voter suppression techniques, they increased gerrymandering, and they even managed to get Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act struck down by the Supreme Court. If the party was actually hoping that these efforts would win them a few extra minority voters, then they have failed miserably. The bottom line is this: a zebra cannot change its stripes. The reason that the GOP is perceived as racist is because it has used racial overtones in its campaigns for decades, and now they're feeling the sting of that racism. And if history is any indicator, things are only going to get worse for the GOP.